Hello everyone, welcome back for some more Let's Read Fate Prototype. I think today we're going to be finishing up Volume 3 here with Act 5, 6, and the bonus act for Volume 3, the Beautiful Mind arc. So, last time we learned a bit about the backstory of Ozymandias here, and we learned about Fate Moses, who we kind of probably knew existed, but I never really considered much to think about, and we'll probably be in FGO one day, maybe. For now, let's see what happens as Manaka strikes the Riders' Camp Workshop. Let's get going. A woman dances furiously in the dim light. It was a sensational dance. It was a passionate dance. Her smooth body moves through the thin cloth that sticks tightly to her limbs. Beads of sweat float around her openly exposed skin from her bare back, hips, sides of her torso to her arms, sparkling while receiving the slight light. Her skin is naturally brown. On her face is a white mask. There's no expression on the mask made to imitate a skull, and that drifting sensation is that of death. Her cold-hearted looks, a face telling death. Since her face is covered with something that seems to be an embodiment of some kind, no matter how fiercely the woman's dance and body has the power to attract the opposite sex with, it makes sense that it'll be counteracted by it. However, she was still going strong. The seductiveness of her physical limbs and the lewdness of her dancing had nothing against the eeriness of her one and only mask. A certain day in February, exactly in 1991, there was the figure of assassin in the ground below the Okutama Mountains in the middle of a large-scaled magecraft workshop that was supposed to be an indomitable fortress that made full use of magecraft and modern science. Did she come alone? No. Assassin appeared in the workshop along with a pretty girl she had designated as her master. Indeed, she had truly come to know her master's marvelous techniques. Despite the numerous bounded fields and gun turrets, even the great magic that would have otherwise strongly blocked the invasion of servants was easily nullified. As she dances in the dim light, Assassin did not feel any discomfort. Far from squeaking, her transient body composed of ether did not feel any damage, resistance, or burden from her bouncing hips to one of her fingertips slicing down the air. Assassin was certainly prepared to some extent when she was informed by her master that she would be infiltrating the workshop of the Asemi clan, a sect of far eastern mages based in the mountains, and whose leader was a participant in the Holy Grail War. Even though she is a being beyond human intelligence, she was summoned into the lowest class in the servant rankings, and it is not always safe to step into a workshop that has been carefully prepared to the extent that they persist with a siege battle. But that was nothing. There was nothing that prevented her from walking and dancing. All of it was due to the miraculous magecraft made by her master's handiwork. Like a butterfly flapping its wings or a flower blooming, her master does everything. Please, leave this place to me, my master. Immediately after she carried out her infiltration, yes, she quietly tells the girl. Assassin began what she was supposed to do. She had begun to dance. It's really easy to destroy a large-scale underground magecraft workshop that is completely shut down from the inside. All she had to do was enter the air conditioning control room and then dance. Oh my god, that would work so well. Holy crap, wait. Her poison in the AC room? Oh my god, that is the craziest plan. Okay. The poisonous sweat that flowed down from Assassin's body as she dances wildly volatilizes, and the poisonous air that is generated scatters to every corner of the vast underground workshop through the air conditioners. Compared to direct contact, the concentration of toxins is much lower, because it is through the mucous membrane, such as the lips, that makes Assassin's poison such a deadly method of attack. Even so, if she keeps dancing and sweating, if the target has not taken anti-poison methods, if it is an organism that carries out life activities by breathing, then their limbs will be paralyzed first. Their heartbeat will become scattered with all of their thoughts, eventually leading to a slow death. No one in this workshop, underneath the Okutama Mountains, can escape. No difference between old and young, no difference between men and women. Those named as Semi will be annihilated overnight. Even those who can be the candidate for the Holy Grail War, a magus who had magic circuits in their body, even those without talent for magecraft, all those who are in the labyrinth-like workshop will die. They will die. That is already completely determined. The reason for it was because of the Rider of Master, the heroic spirit seated on Tokyo Bay and his clan, because of their affiliation to a Holy Grail War participant. No, those things don't mean much in this moment of this dance, even if the results was the same. For now, at this moment, Assassin was dancing in such delight. It had no meaning. Only the pure feelings dedicated to her master are here. The height of joy that was guided by only the fact that she could do something for this girl. When she said that she wanted her to leave this place to her, it was because she wanted this joy. She wants her to see it herself. The performance that she once showed to countless hostile foreign lords and generals as she numbed the bodies of her assassination targets when she had a body and a proper life. This which was the preparation to tilt thoughts to a sexual direction, her poisonous dance which sublimated into the dance macabre itself. I want to do something for you, even if I am powerless. That was it. If she closes her eyes, she can remember it endlessly. The countless nights of past days where she danced before she approached someone to kill. Or before someone she approached to kill. Was it so intoxicating? Although not as powerful as the poisonous body she had in her lifetime, most men will inhale the volatile poison, blunt their thoughts, and be covered like beasts as long as she was allowed to dance at close range. It didn't matter whether they were a suspicious lord or a famous commander healthy in both body and mind. Sometimes she took down women in the same way. Therefore, no difference between men and women. Few people saw this dance to the real last step. Until now. You're so pretty, Assassin. She can hear a pretty voice. Yep, that's the kind of look we know in FGO there. Only you can watch this dance without breaking your smile. Yes, it's wonderful. Seeing you dance like this, it's like you're a foreign flower that blooms at night. Out of the corner of her eyes, she can see the innocent smile of Manaka Seijo, her supreme master. Purer than anyone, and with the most precious sparkle than anyone. At the same time, the fact that her body is being poisoned somewhere, and although she felt there were screams and cries that seemed to indicate their deathly fate, it wasn't something that she should especially bear in mind. She cannot stop her dance that scatters sweat that embodies her dynamic feelings. But, for some reason, someone suddenly came to mind. An opponent she killed, though she didn't know how many people she killed since her materialization. He wouldn't be an adult, a young boy. Was he a young man? He was telling her something weird. A man who was the master of Berserker who she kissed 3 days ago. What was he saying? Certainly she felt he was saying something weird. She vaguely remembers that it was like a bad joke. It was a phrase that was even brilliant past the humor when he told her in the midst of killing each other. Don't let me use this. Okay. Huh. As she keeps dancing, the poisonous girl remembers his words only a little. He was a strange young man. If he chose a sacrificial death to imitate a saint, could she say that aside from being a magus who controls a holy spirit, he excelled at being a kind of clown? A clown, huh? It suited she who wore a mask and danced in ecstasy, at least, more so than that young man. About a base raid. In the Holy Grail War, it is expected that the base of an enemy master will be a workshop in many cases, a magical workshop. In the original sense, it'll be a facility prepared for lifelong research, but in the case of the Holy Grail War, a magus will be able to demonstrate its aspect as a fortress where they have exhausted their innermost mysteries. A master's workshop, which is guaranteed to be a powerful sacred place, is extremely impregnable. There's also a good chance that a bounded field has been set up to prevent the invasion of magical beings such as servants. In that case, the servant will be considered exhausted if the forced invasion is carried out. It is crucial to destroy the bounded field and alleviate the effects associated with the bounded field. Servants possess absolute combat strength. In other words, if they can be safely delivered to the target point, the place where the master sits, the base raid will be successful no matter how strong the fortress is. For example, the temporary strengthening of a servant or teleportation by using a master degree. Even if you do not rely on their unique abilities such as their skills or noble phantasms, choosing these trump cards will dramatically increase the chances of a successful attack. Be careful. Don't hesitate to use a trump card while attacking a base. At the same time, when defending your bases, always consider the possibility of being easily breached depending on the preparedness and abilities of your enemy. Let me read that again. Always consider the possibility of easily being breached depending on the preparedness and abilities of the enemy camp. Since the Holy Grail War is a mutual slaughter, we have no choice but to challenge it on the premise that all situations are possible. An excerpt from an old notebook. Many humans were dead. Old people, young people, children too, men, women, ordinary humans with magic circuits, all of them were dead. It wasn't death due to pain. However, many of the dead had died with a strong expression of fear, probably because they lost their lives while clearly realizing that they and everything around them were dying. The only exception were the mages. Many of them died with pain and suffering stuck to their faces. Why? It was because they owned an anti-poison mystic code. As a result of the girl's handiwork to make some changes to Assassin's poison, just in case, the toxins sensed the presence of magic circuits and immediately changed and altered them. And at the same time it came into contact with the mages' bodies, their magic circuits were recombined into a circuit of absolute death. Oh my goodness, that is terrifying, insane magic. Right out of Kiritsugu's handbook. Wow. As a result, the underground workshop was filled with silence. No one could make a sound. The quiet sound of the girl, an assassin walking down the corridor, only echoes intermittently. To there, Lady Manaka, with all due respect, it's Castor. Oh, what is it? As you may have already guessed, I would like to report that your actions were successful in the decisive battle on Tokyo Bay. Ryder has lost his master and has been cut off from his mana supply. With such a huge noble phantasm, it will consume his considerable mana, and Ryder will soon be killed. Is that so? Is there something troubling you? That pharaoh is very strong and may have an ace up their sleeve. Oh, and I wasn't the one that made this place fall. Well, it was Assassin. This child worked really hard. There, you're amazing, amazing. You jest. Oh? Why? If the subterranean workshop in Okutama is a den of mages, there may be many mages dressed in mystic codes against poison, right? Those can be killed at best by one without magecraft. I helped with the rest. But still, geez, Castor, don't pick on Assassin too much, okay? My apologies, Lady Manaka. Keep on helping Saber. Do your job properly until you confirm the reality marble has completely disappeared. It's your plan after all, right? It will be my pleasure. I'll check around the workshop, then contact Archer's master. I think Archer will be necessary if you want to properly kill off that pharaoh. Please, be careful. Your loyalty is not absolute. Be careful when you get in touch with the Magus, even if you are Lady Manaka. It'll be fine. I'll be using the phone. The girl echoes in the dimly lit underground filled with death, while having the masked woman wait beside her. She exchanged words with a servant who was in a place far away from them, as if they were right next to them. That person was amazing. You were walking around carrying a mobile phone. It's rare even for a mage. Many mages don't like advanced scientific technology. Right? There are those mages too. Oh, but there's so many different machines in this workshop. Oh? Something wrong? I found an interesting room. Well then, until later. The thing reflected in his gaze was the same cold ceiling as always. Next were the countless tubes, the cables connected to the machines, the cables connected to his body. It was a sight he'd gotten used to. Even if the location of his bed was moved to a large-scale subterranean workshop, it does not look good. The layout and the ceiling were all the same as the usual private ward, made for the special ward of a general hospital of Shinjuku Ward. It was the same with the cables. He didn't think it was done with any intention. He was sure they just did the same design, as it was more efficient that way. He didn't have a particular grudge against them. Suddenly, he was fortunate enough to be moved deep into the underground workshop, into a special room prepared for him that had been treated to keep it sterile. Indeed, he was lucky, until that moment at least, when he was the only one to survive. A pretty voice that rings like the sound of a bell. It's pretty airtight here. Besides, the air only circulates in this room. The dust-proof and gas-proof treatments are carried out properly, too. A voice he did not know. There was someone different than usual in the usual room. It's not just mechanically processing, it's also as a rune effect. Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be possible for it to stop Assassin's poison. Even though he did not know many things, he could recognize it. It was a girl's voice. I don't hate it. Stuff like this. Your family's a little funny. If I knew they were playing like this, I wonder if it was a pity to kill everyone. He imagines a large flower in full bloom in a beautifully made garden. Sure enough, the girl stared at him as if she was peeking in from above the bed while avoiding some of the cables. Certainly possessed the beauty of a flower. Cute, pretty, lovely, a beauty. Multiple descriptions emerged by immobilizing all the knowledge, having lived thus far and gained in a short amount of time. There was such a girl. She was wearing clothes he had never seen before even once up till now. A dress. It looks good on her. Hi there. He squeezes his voice out from his throat and turns it into words. His lungs were in very good shape today, and thanks to the lack of a ventilator, he somehow managed to say hello. It was a miracle that he could call out to someone not of his clan. It happened twice in this short span of time. The first time was the man who had the brilliance of the sun in his eyes. The second time was this girl. Hello, cute boy. You don't look too well. Yes, that's right. It's painful. The words are putting a strain on his full throat and lungs. I'm fine. I'm doing the Holy Grail War right now. For the sake of my beloved. That explains it. He could finally grasp the meaning of the girl's mysterious words. He wondered if that was the reason why no one had come into the hospital room for a while. Normally people in white coats would come and go, doing various things such as checking the instruments of the machines connected to him, medicating him through the tubes and needles that are always connected to his blood vessels, interviewing him, fitting him with experimental equipment, preliminary arrangements to transfer mana circuits, and so on, but no one will be coming into this room. I'm sorry. I've already killed everyone besides you. Ryder is so strong, so I thought I'd cut him off from his mana supply. She approaches his eyebrows as if she was troubled. The girl showed a faint, amused face. He couldn't reply. The words would not come out. Originally, he wasn't used to the act of talking, as he didn't. He thought of the many people who would have died outside this room. Lots of people should have been in this workshop. Adults, old people too. As they had magic circuits, they were told about things that happened during the Holy Grail War. There were some small children who didn't know anything. He had never met most of them. Their faces too. He didn't even know their names. But the only thing he could choose regarding the girl's message and smile was to warn them. You can blame me. You can hate me. Oh, yeah, you can also be happy, I guess. because a good number of the people who forced you to live like this are dead. Or was it a kind smile? The girl says with a face that can be expressed like that. He didn't remember seeing anyone who actually looks like that. Most of the people in lab coats didn't have facial expressions, and those who he came into contact with that sometimes showed emotions was normally that of pity or sympathy and so on. I don't blame you. I'm a nobody. Neither you nor the Asemi clan either. Is that so? If you could possibly grant... She could grant it. Happiness, peace, and tranquility for everyone besides himself. If it's true that you killed my clan, then that's very sad. Someone who was injured. That was unbearably sad, even so. I wouldn't... He also wouldn't resent anyone for it. He couldn't say the end of the words properly, but he thinks he was able to convey what he wanted to say. Oddly enough, he had the feeling that this girl could convey all of her unspoken thoughts and intentions. That's why... Look, the girl tilts her head a little. It was a gesture of interest. At this point, he gradually understood. Wonder, is this child different? Different from an ordinary person, different from your average magus. Even the mages who perceive themselves as having deviated themselves from humanity, people in lab coats who deliberately suppress their emotions and treat them like lab rats, this girl almost certainly had emotions. She takes everything, feels, thinks, and does everything. Was it just a gauge, an opinion, her status? Something's different? She's different from everyone else. You're funny. You're just like an olden day saint. Yet hallucinations as if the room was distorted. Something was floating on the girl's hand. It was a black thing. A mass of something that is black and pulsating more strongly than his own heart, which he saw through a monitor one day. It was something that pulsates wickedly. Just by looking at it, something jarred in the depths of himself. His magic circuits, no, his heart, his soul. Something like that was screaming inside him. That was... You're way more interesting than your clan, yep, she said, gently patting his head. So I'm gonna go see if you really do have any grudges against anyone. What do you think? Going to see? I've already found the Greater Grail. This child was found in the depths of it. This kid is amazing. It's really hungry, too. If you can say the same thing an hour, 30 minutes after this child's implanted in you, then I'll leave you alone. What do you mean by that? So, okay, I thought for a second that what it's saying is, like, this child was found in the depths of it. Like, Manaka was, and this is, like, the Grail speaking. But no. She found something in the Greater Grail and is gonna put it into him. Oh no, what are we doing? Her beautiful voice made him happy. Her beautiful face gently conveys her cruelty. The girl smiled. Yes, like flowers in full bloom, like stars shining in the night sky. Do your best, okay? For me, I'd never seen flowers or stars without using a monitor. That legitimately might be the best chapter we've read in all this. It was terrifying. That was so good. Oh, wait, what are we doing? Regarding Subject A. We discovered Subject A in an unimaginable state, a state of near death, and so on, that one word is not enough to describe it. Despite being the sole survivor discovered at our clan's main base, the Okutama Underground Workshop, Subject A was also one of the most severely injured victims. Although their brain and cardiopulmonary functions were barely left in this state, they were decisively defective in their human body. Due to natural illness, Subject A had a body with a large defect that could not sustain vital activity without connections to more apparatuses than originally used, but their condition at the time of their discovery far diverged from the one we had in the past, likely necrosis or fusion, due to some factor. They are being greedily devoured from the inside. The main cause of it is not clear. At the time of discovery, a slight unknown substance was attached to Subject A's body, refer to Photo 2. One worker who came into contact with the black gel-like substance immediately went mad and began to act violent. What is this SCP stuff? Oh my god. One worker who came into contact with this black gel-like substance immediately went mad and began to act violently, and the other two who tried to subdue him also went mad and attacked the other workers while shouting in fragments of words similar to predation. Oh. Forced measures had to be taken to suppress them, resulting in the complete loss of 6 workers. With the contents of their statements, it is inferred that the main cause was an abnormal urge to destroy and the occurrence of hatred similar to a sense of duty. For details about the statement, see report number 00233. Of particular note, in search of the clan's main base, which may have been attacked by magical means or biological weapon, the workers had their mind altered, despite all workers wearing airtight suits as biochemical equipment. Oh my god, I can go through the airtight suits. The identity of the black substance remains unknown to this day. After that, the substance sticking to Subject A's body mysteriously disappeared. Subject A is also still alive. They're in a far more intense state than they used to be, and numerical observations say that it's been causing him a lot more pain every time their heart beats with each breath. It is a pain that far exceeds the permissible level for the human body, especially for the brain. Naturally, high doses of medication and magical cures have been administered. Those that used to work before are now almost unusable. Subject A always feels more pain than their body can bear. Nonetheless, Subject A does not go mad, let alone die, at least because of the pain. So long as the clan's technology is linked to their life support, including their cardiopulmonary functions, it will save their life. Needless to say, they only have a few years left. It is immeasurable how Subject A, who has such a strong spirit, would be useful for the clan's reconstruction if he was a magus with a healthy body, but at this stage, the most effective way to utilize Subject A is to continue to take life-sustaining measures so that they can be selected to be a master in the next Holy Grail War. Their innate magic circuits and mentality which surpasses ordinary people must have more than enough potential and aptitude to be recognized by the Holy Grail. The only problem is that their body has been severely damaged. They cannot withstand the mana consumption and burden associated with summoning a heroic spirit and maintaining their materialization after their summoning, but that's not a big deal. The mask developed by Elder Shazuri through the accumulation of the clan's skills will function normally as a pseudo-master face and will continue to maintain the summoned servant, even after the death of Subject A. Well, there we go. Remember how I said that it looked like the same mask that was worn by... I'm pretty sure he's Ryder, right? I'm pretty sure the prototype next Grail War servant is Ryder. Well, that's why, right? Because he is wearing the mask that is the pseudo-master face. That is crazy. Oh, here we go. Well, let's go. And then, time marches forward just once. 8 years later, 1999 AD, in the corner of a special ward of a certain general hospital in Shinjuku Ward, Tokyo, around the time when the Second Holy Grail War in history began, when the battle between 7 masters and servants was about to unfold, when the young saint was about to end his life, around the time when a terrifying beast was embedded in his body, and he was at the end of his days of further pain. Under the unchanging ceiling, beyond the many cables, people surrounded in expressionless lab coats. A few days later, he fulfilled the only selfish desire he had in his life. I don't have a wish for the Grail, as this body had already been satisfied. I've always believed in the world's warmth, in the goodness of people. When I slayed the dreaded Medusa who continued to slaughter many heroes, when I rescued Andromeda, oh, she's a servant now, who was being offered up as a sacrifice to Cetus, the monster of divine punishment, when I took back my mother from the evil influence of the wicked king Polydectes, even after resigning as the king of Tyrns. The Olympian gods had always protected and saved me. I wonder if in the prototype world they're also meant to be giant alien mechas. I wonder. My father, the great god Zeus, the war goddess Athena, and the god of wisdom Hermes all aided me in the dangers and predicaments of my many adventures. And many people have praised me, but never hurted me, or hated me. Monsters who hurt people, and kings who fall into evil. I did not doubt that those sorts of things were removed from the righteous world. I was always blessed. I didn't lose heart even to a life-threatening event. The world was filled with brilliance, and the path to take was always clear. That's why, when I first saw your figure, I was convinced that you were the one I should save this time, in this world where I had materialized as a servant and gained a temporary life. You, who I'm bound to. That day, your body was connected to countless cables, just like Andromeda did at that time. You, who were always lying on your white bed. A frail, young boy. A person who kept on living by being connected to machines while carrying your clan's great ambition, and who had achieved a heroic spirit summoning. Do they interest you? You asked me so. You told me a story about constellations, and you replied that they often have a bond with the people they are connected to. About myself, about the constellation Perseus, who was summoned to the heavens by Athena and became a constellation. It's an autumn constellation in the land of the Far East, so you can't see it now. It's winter now, the cold season. I wanted to go outside with you and look up at the winter night sky, but I was sad when I was informed that it would be difficult for you. Your body is badly eroded by disease, so you can't leave the white room. How sad that is. You have never felt the swaying breeze in a field. You've never even smelled the scent of seawater at the beach. You've never seen the beauty of the stars in the night sky. Oh, if that's so, my wish to the Holy Grail that will be granted to the last surviving servant and master pair will be, let's see the autumn starry sky together. When I told you that, you were very surprised. Is it so easy to decide on a wish? It's not mysterious at all. There was nothing like a wish in this body before it was summoned. Since I got a constellation, there is nothing I could desire to top it. Then let's wish for a new friend who was summoned, and we later met. Let's cure your body, and see the Perseus constellation together. When I told you that, you did nod, and then you said, everything in my clan is connected to my life, which was supposed to have ended 8 years ago. I also got close to people who said they're my friends. Okay, so I think that's Perseus there. So, I desire for nothing myself. Rather, I want to wish for the happiness of a greater deal of people to the Grail. Okay, a little hard to see who's saying what, because they're not actually saying who in this case. A life that brings pain every time your heart beats, breathing like you're swallowing a needle. There is no real feeling of life that is proportionate with the amount of pain you feel. You said that while you were just waiting for death. You will suffer endless pain, but you will not utter a complaint or let out all your grievances. You wished for the happiness of people without worrying about your grisly, eroded body at all. Ah, surely you are a hero. O great god Zeus, Athena, Hermes, why don't you help him? There is a person here who deserves to be a consolation more than anyone else. A hero. No, that's wrong. He's a Paracin. That's a little typo there. Who wishes for the happiness of people with only a holy item, without relying on violence that hurts or defeats something. It is true that you already told me that the gods had already left the earth. At least there are no gods on this earth. The compassion of hearing the voice of a saint is not in this city filled with brightness even at night. I have a request. You said one day. You were smiling when I replied that I would do whatever I could. You wanted me to see what the city looks like. To see, remember, and talk to as many people as I could. It was a modest wish. It's painful to think about how much you've doubted and wondered if it was okay to tell me by the time you uttered those few words. It wasn't so exaggerated, but you were so apologetic about it. I have no wish. Even if you said that, it's inexcusable to be so flippy-floppy. No, it's no problem. It really is like that. When a friend asks a friend for something, you don't have to feel small or necessarily nervous. As you wished, I spent the entire day walking around, well, wandering around the city. I weaved through the valley of skyscrapers that seemed to reach the heavens, looked at the chirping birds and the trees in the large park, and remembered the figures of laughing parents and children in high spirits. I thought it'd be better to keep record with a photo, but you stubbornly shook your head. It's better not to move so much, the cables will slip. I want you to see it with your own eyes. If you can tell it to me as you see and feel it. I did what you said. I told you everything I saw that day. Straight after, you smiled so happily while having a coughing fit. My wish, it was the things you saw today. You said that thinking of people you've never even seen yourself. How beautiful it was. How heartbreaking. You love the world and the people so much. But do the people I saw in the city love you? And now, today is the 7th day since I materialized by your summons. You were fading from what I could see, just by me staying in this world. You were being painfully affected by me sucking up all your mana, your life itself. And after a few brief moments, the flames of your life will be snuffed out. With this, you cannot endure the battle to obtain the Holy Grail. There was nothing I could do. Nothing. In this way, I have no choice but to stand at your bedside and stare at you as you weaken. That might be good. If they could no longer cure you and you could lose your life, then I'll disappear with you. It's unclear whether I'll return to being a constellation or return to the throne of heroes. But if it is the latter, then it may be possible for my voice to reach the gods. You will also become a constellation. I didn't have any friends. Your shivering throat. I could see that a little bit of remaining life transforms into sounds, words, and voices. A servant of the Holy Grail War chooses a heroic spirit who has achieved an untimely fate. He was told that was the rule, but he didn't want to. That's right, you continue. You just smile back at those words of restraint, that speaking so much is bad for your body. That's why you are the only selfishness in my life. Selfishness? What are you saying? I'm glad you are a happy person and not a misfortunate hero. Don't talk anymore. I knew that body which was being devoured by an unknown illness was filled with incredible suffering just by uttering words like this. Please, at the very least, I want you to be at peace, if only in your final moments. But you keep talking. You turn to me. You said that I was your first friend. To Perseus. After what satisfied people wish for is to surely be happy, right? I think that what you wish for to the Holy Grail is something warm, so please, please, may people be peaceful and happy. You smile as if you were dreaming. You quickly depart from this world while uttering words that are not words. While spending the master's degree on your left hand to incarnate me, I obtain non-creaking bones and supple flesh. I'm sure I want the world to be filled with happiness. So that's it. I obtain new bones over my body. I obtain new flesh over my body. While recognizing the amazing fact that a real heart was connected to my spirit origin, while surely feeling that I obtained a body that was not made of temporary ether, and with red-hot blood racing through me, I stare at your dead face now. Even though you employed a master degree to incarnate me, where in this little body did you have so much power left? I don't know if you achieved it with some secret magecraft technique, or if your individual qualities applied your master degree in this way. However, I see you dead while accepting your wishes. You would go that far. For everyone. At that moment, there was something swirling in my heart. I think about your unrewarded life. You didn't resent others until the end, and you bowed your head to your heart, which believed in the world's warmth. And then, I remember my disgusting rage at everything that didn't save you. My love, respect, and anger muddily melt away, losing all its colors, completely muddies into a black which light doesn't reach. I pray to the Holy Grail now, for happiness for you. If you say the Holy Grail is truly omnipotent, if you say it can do something that not even my distant father Zeus can do, then I shall swear it here and now. Holy One, a person who wished for the happiness of people, you, only you must be happier than anyone else. I won't let them take you away from this world that didn't extend its kind hands to you. That's for sure. Damn. Damn. One chapter, and now immediately I'm like, oh my god, this character is so interesting. Okay. Here we go. Act 6, The Beautiful Mind Arc. The Princess of the Root. Oh my god, just that name. Next lays her hand on. Loveliness had taken shape. Pure and innocent, some may liken her to a flower or fairy. If there is a poet who knew the world before the illusion hides itself, he must have expressed it while speaking of the various mysteries that live and expending all their techniques while incorporating their many emotions. More beautiful than the flowers blossoming in the earthly gardens, and not so voluptuous to make people crazy, she was a precious beauty that gently fills people. In the bathroom, which looked a bit modest compared to the size and scale of the mansion, soaking herself in the bathtub, the girl was clearly shining. If they saw her pink cheeks, anyone could understand. There is love here. It was not because of the heat of the hot water, which was lathered in white with soap, that her body temperature had risen. The girl knew it. Her sweetheart is right near her. Hey, Saber, can you hear me? Beyond the door inlaid with frosted glass, in the dressing room that should be terribly cold, he is there. That is why the girl's cheeks are dyed. Her eyes are trembling and shining as if they're wet. Purely, the girl thinks of him. Innocently, the girl longs for him. As an observant result, it was an unmistakable truth and fact. The girl lives for him. Knowing his heartfelt wish, she decided to devote everything to fulfill it. Shakespeare would say, "This is undoubtedly love." Very necessary picture. You know what though? Because this is the thing, right? Like the way it describes her is like it really describes her as something beyond human, and it's scary. It's legitimately unnerving. Oh hey, also, Anderson would say, "This is what creates worlds and destroys them." Oh, women, right? Yeah, that's Anderson's thought on women. Because she thinks of him, yearns for him, and loves him. She will do absolutely everything, according to literature. At the end of Miracles and the Secret of Magecraft in Tokyo in 1991, a group of the most supernatural and heroic spirits will materialize and altogether become a hindrance that stands in her way. What are we doing? What is this grand plan she has? Whether it's a mad beast that howls at the moonlit night, a magus who controls the 5 elements, a girl who is a deadly poison, a hero of the Far East, a woman who manipulates a super heavy deformed lance, or a god king who owns the heavens and earth, she is not frightened. She is not afraid. The girl will not show any hesitation, even if almost everything in the world tries to stop her, that it is her love, and the world will almost never bear its fangs at her. Just sometimes she regrets the stupidity of her actions. An example is possible, even now, at this moment. Saber? Girl slightly repeats the name she called out. 2 days ago, the decisive battle in Tokyo Bay left a terrible wound on his body. Even though she had made multiple plans, made every effort, and did their best on top of the best. Although all of the wounds which had already healed her Although all of his wounds had already healed with her full body treatments, initially she was somewhat panicked by the depth of his many wounds. She showed an expression that she normally wouldn't show. "You're there, right? My prince? No. My knight?" She calls out again, to the mean king of knights who does not reply. 1 second, 2 seconds. Sure enough, there is no reply. As an objective fact, he had previously declared that it would lord over him as a knight to cozy up to a maiden's bathing, even though they were separated by a door, and that responding to the call of the girl, who was clearly still naked, would be equally irresistible. Whether or not she still knew his struggles as a knight, the girl pouted a little here. Swelling her lovely cheeks, she said, "No, you must stay there, because we don't know when a scary servant will come to attack us." Still, there is no reply. The girl pouts even more here. Because of that, she puts herself into a pinch. Even though she had the ability to do everything in creation, the girl could never see where she's going. Never. Absolutely. It was the only shackle she imposed on herself. Or... Chuckling, the girl smiles this time. The girl's pouting had already stopped, and it was a malicious smile that said, "I rather tease and annoy my honest, innocent, beloved knight to my heart's content. Should it be as age-appropriate mischief or innocence that was somewhat younger than her age? Either way. If you're going to be so mean, I too already have an idea. Let's see, not in that place, preferably. What is that bewitching sound? I'll enter." They were words that sounded like Morgan. Important reminder of the family relations of the King Arthur in the Fate world. "The bath with you too." It was an act of pitiful self-harm. Behold, the proof. To be more accurate to say that rather than being surprised, she was more surprised by saying it herself. After she seemed to notice her blunder, the girl's cheeks quickly turned a bright rosy color. It was no longer just a pink color. In the blink of an eye, her eyes were dyed red. It's nothing at all." I'm a little confused as to what's going on here, right? Is this just her talking to herself pretty much? Huh. Why are her eyes red now? I'm a bit confused. I don't fully understand what's going on. What do you do if she feels embarrassed to say it herself without calling it self-harm or entrapping herself? The girl who sinks into the bath while mumbling, "Stupid, stupid" right now is no different from those pure and innocent girls who fall in love that overflow the world. Blub, 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 blub. She sinks down to her face. More bubbles float in the white bubbles. About dematerialization. One of the features that materialized servants automatically have is the ability to turn into incorporeal spirit form. To be precise, it should not be called a function, but it should be recognized as an ancillary thing as a result. First, they who have been summoned are an entity composed of ether. Again, they really keep changing the way the spelling is for some of this stuff. The spelling and terminology. It does make sense that, like, the books would use different ones, right? Like, this book would use a different terminology, but yeah. And as such, they possess a temporary body. They are entities in this world. Even if they are tentative, they are no different from us in that they are physically composed, and if they hit a physical barrier, they'll have no choice but to destroy it. At the same time, they are also unworldly spiritual beings. Unless they achieve incarnation due to special circumstances, they are still beings in this world, and at the same time beings not of this world. Therefore, they can obtain the functional trait of dematerialization. As spiritual bodies, they turn into incorporeal beings and can move through physical barriers such as walls without receiving physical interference. Also, it is probably because they are otherworldly beings. The amount of mana consumed to maintain their spirit materialization, which had been transformed into a spiritual body by unraveling their temporary body, is significantly reduced. Even if they are a powerful heroic spirit with high mana consumption, they are in a dematerialized state, then the burden on the master will be mostly reduced. However, in their dematerialized states, servants are unable to exert a physical influence on others. Therefore, it is assumed that the general use of a servant is to be dematerialized during normal hours and materialized in battle. This greatly depends on the characteristics of the servant. Some will only have meaning when they are always materialized. Okay, yeah, so some prefer to. A certain day in February 1991, evening, Seijo residence in Suganami Ward, Tokyo. Who knew that there were now 3 servants in this small mansion? Who would have guessed? Cardinals and other members of the Holy Church, the Knights Templar, the Lords of the Mage Association, Beyond the Ocean, and unknown members of the Far East Mages Association. Oh, that's really different for this world. There's a proper Far East Mage Association? Yeah, that is quite different. No one could have predicted that a single Magus girl had signed a contract with a heroic spirit and made a further 2 servants submit themselves personally to her. The girl exhales her slightly white breath. She knows that she is breathing thinly in her temporary lungs. Standing quietly, the girl, assassin, takes in the chilly night air with her tanned body. There was no deep meaning for breaking her dematerialization and standing here in her true form. Saber, who was loved more than anyone by her master, wasn't going to compete with her over the unnatural continuation of their materialization. No, he wouldn't. But it may be her master's wish if they did. Perhaps, if she had to say it, she wanted to see it with her own eyes, that which laid beyond her gaze. A splendid garden covered with glass walls and ceilings, which was called garden by her master. I'm sure that's literally written garden in English in the original book. The knowledge that came from the Holy Grail did not give details of the landscaping, but she could easily tell at a glance that it was a magnificent garden. Only at night did it look like a beauty that shines under the stars. The girl had never seen it in the morning herself. She just didn't know whether it was true in the morning. She just stared at it. Standing at the end of the passageway leading from the main residence, she was in front of a door without opening the door to garden. She kept motionlessly staring through the glass without entering. A bounded field, huh? She does not enter. She cannot enter. The door had been laid with protection magecraft. It is a kind of bounded field that grows stronger with a predetermined protection target enters its side. It is an interesting that it is strengthened by a kind of curse. It will work to some extent against servants. In particular, the girl naturally thinks that if she does not have any kind of magical resistance skills, she should not step further. If there is a servant who enters here, it will only be those with decent purpose, like a servant who tries to kill a hostile master during a Holy Grail war. Who's there? A soft voice. It sounded unsuspecting, but it was filled with, it's Ayaka. It was filled with caution somewhere. It's not the enemy, an unmistakable human being, very young and terribly fragile. Emitted from a child's throat, it didn't resemble the sound of master. It's not like she didn't notice the other person's approach, however, even if she sensed it, she just decided to gaze at this garden. She determined that she, who was her master's blood relative, wasn't a target of vital concern or caution, that's all. After exhaling another white breath, Assassin turns while shaping her face with her transformation skill. She was glad that her clothes had already changed into her usual one-piece attire. It was an act of consideration, as her appearance as a servant was not suitable if she materialized in the mansion, but should she pay attention to her appearance in the future? Excuse my intrusion. Are you one of my father's guests? Yes, I am. She smoothly lies. She was used to lying. Dang. It's just so weird that Ayaka's here while all this is going down, you know? It was the same in her previous life. Even now, after her death and materialization, it hadn't changed. If she had not officially recontracted with her master, she would have gone to the red light district every night to prey on the lives of men, to replenish her mana and maintain her body. Souls, mana, she kept devouring it. She always uses lies. She smiles with the face of a liar, seduces them with lying words, and drives men wild with lying gestures. She's sure that she will do that again tonight. At the street corner around Shinjuku Nakano, or Ogikubo. Perhaps she couldn't stand the silence. The child opened her lips again. Are you, maybe, one of Big Sister's friends? Yes, I am. Again, she lied. She soon realized that the contents of her words were inconsistent with her previous response. Therefore, I'm an acquaintance of Mr. Hiroki Seijo and a friend of Miss Manaka. She smoothly makes up for it. That's so? Yes. I see. Perhaps it was because she had given the family name, because her tone was a little sloppy. Did she suspect her? Even so, there's no problem. She's used to infiltration. During her lifetime, she traveled to the bases of influential people who were against her religious order and generals and Western knights who desecrated her lands and suddenly encountered small children. Just like a strong knight or a gate guardian, she can go it with no problem. Above all, she didn't hate children. If it's a question of whether she liked them or hated them, then yes, she liked them. Young people are especially dear to her because she had neither conceived or give birth. Innocents that should be brought up with love. Parents who never had the chance to embrace them with both arms. You're Miss Ayaka, right? Miss Ayaka Seijo. Yeah, I am. I'm... What should she say? Her name. The name Hassani Sabah wasn't unique to her. There are too many omissions for her to be the only Hassan in the world. Although she was weak and thirsty for contact with others, and although she had personally handled many jobs, she couldn't believe that she was able to fulfill her mission more than enough as leader of the order, because the only thing she can be proud of as one of the Hassan was that she died at the hands of that comrade. For example, even if some miracle happens in the Holy Grail War, and she obtains the Holy Grail with these hands, she thinks it's presumptuous. What do you mean by introducing yourself as Hassan? Call me Zil. Zil. In my native tongue, it means shadow. Shadow. Oh my god. Yo, okay. Serenity would love Shadow the Hedgehog, huh? Without realizing it, a self-deprecating smile was about to appear on her mouth. She consciously suppresses it. The smile should not be shown to a young child. Zil, do you like garden? Yes, it's very beautiful. So I just turned my eyes towards it. That's so? Child said it, sighing. And then, gentle, modest, and shy. In that moment, Assassin desperately endured the urge to attack. It was a lovely sight to behold. If she was the shadow of the night and Manaka Seijo, her master, was the moonlight, and the expression the young child floated was the warm sunshine itself. Was it an exaggerated description? No, absolutely not. Although their natures are completely different, certainly, they can reach Assassin there in heaven. As far as one thing that cannot be reached, even if the amount of light that is far from her masters, it definitely is. Wait, what? As far as one thing that cannot be reached, even if the amount of light that is far from her masters, it is definitely light. And, unlike her master, she was someone who must not be touched. She can touch her master, but she cannot touch this child. It's a slight, absolute difference. Here's my study spot, says the child, while faintly shy. I see. Though I can't really say what I'm studying. That's fine. Perhaps it's a study spot for black magic, which is the magecraft of her family. If an onlooker saw it, they'd immediately see there's equipment there at the edge of the garden. The truth is, it was my big sister's spot, but now I'm using it. Then, I wonder if that's true. No. I've said too much. Forget it. Her master does not need that equipment. There's probably no point in her studying magic. Not to mention the words of Castor, Assassin herself came to that fact. To her master, there's no distinction in origin between all magecraft systems, Western magecraft and those from the East, as she is the world's... The world's what? You can't just leave that. If you want to see it, would you like me to show you around garden? Softly, her hand reaches out to her. Oh, what purity, what goodwill. Crap, if you touch me, you will soon fall into anguish and die. Therefore, Assassin avoids the child's outstretched hand. By chance, she made a mistake in her eye measurements and naturally made her think that she could not reach her. Her white fingers could not reach her brown fingers. Please refrain yourself, Miss Ayaka. They passed each other by. Their hands do not overlap. You must not reach out to a vulgar person like me. Yes, the Hassan of Serenity does not notice until her final moments. The fact that one possibility has ceased here. That humble, dazzling, and even precious bud of hope was never given to her, will be given to the sky silver knight in the next few days. She does not notice. That is why she does not open this glass door. She just stands right in front of it. She does not respond. The outstretched hand. I see. In a room in the Seijo house, which was originally one of their guest rooms, quietly, the man was speaking. He was a man with long, beautiful hair. If anyone could see him, many would say that he was a man with charming looks. His long, slit eyes are graceful and at the same time reminiscent of calmness. What comes to his well-shaped mouth is a smile that gives relief and sympathy to others. Inside the workshop of the Seijo's house, in the guest room that has further become a workshop, the man, Castor, nods with approval. He was greatly convinced about the servant without a master who is not himself. She is not a knight who has a holy sword, but never uses it for its intended purpose. That knight has an undoubtable master, so he is talking about another servant here. Like Castor, she was a servant of his mistress, Manaka Seijo, who they have no contact with. Her class is assassin. True name, Hassan of the Serenity. Or was it Hassan Isaba? She was a pitiful woman. He did not know the details of her life, of her past, but he thinks it was a miserable life overall. But her current way of life was seen as a little twisted for Castor. In that case, it's even doubtful that she understands what her own heartful wishes are. She was already making her way here. Even though he had a deep understanding of her. Is that what you're seeking, assassin? The words dissolve into the silent room. You're definitely not a vulgar person. You are a noble one. His words were a sentence. Yeah, most of them are. Oh, like a sentence is okay. Whoops. Okay, I'm like, yeah, that's usually what happens when you put words together, you know. But no, they're saying it was a, although about some kind of accusation or some kind of condemnation. Okay, that type of sentence. Although if that's so, now you should know what your deeds have accomplished. He directs his gaze to a corner of the room. At a culture tank for homunculi, there is something floating in the chemicals. He decided that there was no use for it. What if there was an unexpected use for it? Oh no. He's up torturing his homunculus. About a servant's hobbies and tastes. As mentioned before, it is clear that those who have been summoned and materialized have a distinct personality, aka a unique personality and tastes. No further description is needed about the point that a smooth relationship should be established. More specifically here, where I describe when hobbies and tastes are important. If they materialize only in battle and dematerialize in normal times as much as possible, then the number of human contacts with the servant will be repressed without end. In such cases, it can be expected that there is no room for them to be involved in hobbies and tastes. But for some reason, if the number of contacts is large to the servant's or master's will, or if it is difficult to dematerialize because of extremely special circumstances, then the chance of them coming into contact with their hobbies and tastes will naturally increase on its own accord. One example I know of is food. Oh, can you imagine that? A servant who can't materialize on their own accord who becomes addicted to food? Can you believe that? That'd be crazy. One servant clearly has a particular preference for food. Do they desire it because they cannot dematerialize and cannot continue to exist as an entity? Or does the act of eating work to aid their mana replenishment? Well, certainly it is true that the mana is linked to vitality and that nutritional supplements and the rest work effectively for vital functions of our body, but it's unclear whether it can be clearly defined as supplement to servant's mana supply. However, even if its meaning as a supplement is weak by any chance, if you have a clear understanding of their hobbies and tastes, then it is a bad idea to ignore them. If it is the kind of thing that can be handled with your own abilities and skills, then satisfying them will never have a negative effect on the Holy Grail War. However, of course, it doesn't violate the Magus' rule of concealment of mysteries, and it's not a matter of blindly satisfying them. What sort of homunculus is he making? I'm worried. He heard a pretty sound. He could immediately recognize it as the humming performed by the girl. It is a fairy's singing voice. He, Saber, dreams of those distant days where he heard it in the deep forests of his homeland, Britain. In the past, he actually witnessed many things the modern mages speak of as phantasmal species, heard the words and sounds they sometimes emitted, sometimes touched, and exchanged words with them. And if it was a kind of giant or demon that bared its fangs on his people, He would sometimes point his blade at them and defeat them. Now, what reaches him as he is seated at the evening dinner table like this is nothing but a beautiful melody similar to the chorus of fairies he heard back then, a girl who is his master in the world's first Holy Grail war. Manaka Seijo. Her humming was truly lovely, beautiful, as he can recall from that figure. The great Magus, Merlin, would almost certainly have compared her to a flower. Even himself, who ran through Britain with only the horrors of war that knew little of poetry, thinks of flowers. She is the same as when she first saw her, a large flower wet with morning dew that blooms gorgeously. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're probably very hungry, but I kept you waiting. The girl who finished her bath was making a full-blown dinner. It was wonderful, as if she was cooking the world itself and arranging it on her table. The main dish was roast chicken from the UK, roasted with plenty of herbs, and roast beef with an exquisite condition between the roasted outside and the half-raw inside. There were 2 types of Austrian goulash in the soup, which boasted a richness because of the lots of paprika powder in it. The salads and various hors d'oeuvres of French styles if they were handmade by a specially delicate artist. For the time being, this was all of it. But that's normal, she says. But you're more than human. You're a servant. And above all else, I already know you eat well. Rather, it's game time from here on out. Well, smiling like a flower, while sporting radiance like a star, while spinning as if she was dancing, the girl arranges dishes on the spacious dining table. Bright red borscht from Russia, from the Orients, kebabs and palami, and the Chinese food is shumai with knife-sliced noodles, in addition to the Japanese kettle rice and various breads in various sizes and shapes of German style and more of this and that. Come on, Saber. Make sure to eat lots. Incredible, this is. In front of a mountain of food, he is stunned. She introduced him to them one by one, but he couldn't figure it out halfway through. What are those black round eggs? They looked like chicken eggs, but he had never seen black egg whites like that. Are they from an animal that he does not know about? Are they from a demon beast or phantasmal? No, that's just the century eggs from China. You don't want to eat that, buddy. Trust me. Truly, you can't do anything. You can do anything, can't you, Manaka? Not even a professional cook could match her. The girl's cooking skills were more than perfect and had improved from before. Please, don't hesitate. Just eat as much as you like, okay? After that, if you can, please tell me which one of these was the most delicious. Ah. He nods with approval. Thinking a bit, he opens his mouth. I wonder if it's okay to eat these by myself. Of course. I'm sure you can eat the whole world. I don't know about that. Returning to it, Saber gently shoves the words to the back of his throat. The girl's face, as he thought that her true smile she floated there should not be clouded. The girl laughs naturally with the right brightness to it. There are seconds if you like, but honestly, don't overdo it. She was so pretty, beautiful, cheerful and kind, just a girl herself, without a speck of cloudiness or deception. Saber strongly realizes that it is not a masked smile. While having skills that seem almost omnipotent, while having an amazing innate mystery that even a magus from the age of gods cannot reach, while sometimes exhibiting a cruelty that resembles the one fairy princess Morgan hid, she laughs like this. She smiles, bashfully. Yeah, he's a bit on edge. Like, he knows, like, this is kind of messed up. Now, eat the food the girl is treating him to. Is there something evil in the flavor there? No, by any means. There is certainly a feeling of compassion and sympathy for him in there as he was wounded in battle. That's exactly why. And if there is a girl who personally produced this flavor, he can't help but bet on that ray of hope. Saber suddenly tries to bite his lips. He was recalling his memories of the other day. Is it the words of Archer who crumbled himself with his supernatural technique? Hey, King of Knights, the man who wields a sword of radiance and with glory. What will you wish on the Holy Grail? What will you wish for on the Holy Grail? A further memory revives. Is it the words of the rider who wielded God's authority with unwavering conviction? I know that light. I witnessed it once on the day when my friend and brother parted from my side for the first time. Then you are... Both were strong men to be admired. Both were praiseworthy warriors. They were dazzling heroes in the Holy Grail War, where they bet their lives for their wishes. Then, what about himself? Asking himself, he thinks of the words of her father about the girl before his eyes. That is, it wasn't until after you were summoned that Manaka began to smile like that. It was a few days ago. Before he headed towards the decisive battle in Tokyo Bay, Hiroki Seijo, the head of the Seijo family, told Saber, who was called to his room. Before that, she was more than a human being. What? Okay. The family's head's private room. There was no one else in there. At present, Assassin and Caster had newly appeared at the mansion. Not even Manaka, who was a participant in the Holy Grail War, was there, as she was cooking. Anyway, Manaka has clearly changed in her mental state since your summoning. She's begun to behave like an innocent girl, as she is around that age. Hiroki Seijo was calm. He simply spoke matter-of-factly without breaking the mood or telling him only the facts. Then, what kind of girl was she before he was summoned? A girl? Oh, that's right. She looked like that on the outside. But since she was a baby, she was a child who could see through everything. Sometimes she even seemed to see through her own fate. Wait. What? Okay, what are we doing here? Her fate. They were cruel words. For the child named Ayaka Seijo. For the girl named Manaka Seijo. Yes, for both sisters they were. And now, after your summoning, Manaka's gotten a variety of expressions, but he sums up his speech. It was like a soliloquy, not a conversation. It's futile. I can't say I'm delighted by it. That phrase, a girl that's right, she looked like that on the outside. That's such a terrifying thing. Manaka. It was in the middle of their meal. It might not be a topic for during a meal. If a girl smiles as a girl, then he had the awareness and intuition to say that it is best to leave things be. Because she's smiling like this, his judgment should say that the moment to strike only is when she has only when he is the moment to strike is only when he has her compassion. As a result, the latter won. Saber made up his mind, opened his lips. Already, it was the nth time of the same act, but it's not an exaggeration to say that the general outcome of the Holy Grail War has been decided, yes? Manaka Seijo looks back at him with a smile on her face. Yes, Saber. It's virtually decided that we'll win. Cheerfully, she places a second helping of the soup onto his plate as before he speaks. Her expressions were still like a good fairy. Her words remained cheerful and innocent. Soon, the 6 masters and servants, all of them will be dead. Everything was the same. She was no different from when she was pleased with Saber's words about his impressions of the flavors of food. She was no different than when she had laughed, that she was most happy to hear that it was delicious. And for the time being, when Saber told her it was not good to kill a person, why did she tilt her small neck so adorably? Everything about her remained the same. Berserker was easier than I expected. I was worried when you said you absolutely had to fight him and fought him, but you couldn't lose in the first place, yeah, and when it was over, it was surprisingly easy to kill him together with his master. Goulash was easier than I expected. I was worried because... Oh, we're doing... The food was a metaphor! Oh my god, the food was different metaphors for different regions, and each one represents a servant. Oh my god! Goulash was easier than I expected. I was worried because it was a dish you're unfamiliar with, but in the first place, you love delicate seasoning, and yeah, when you try it, it has a surprising light and delicate flavor. I see. Is this so? Ryder was a powerful foe, but I think we managed it. See, didn't Archer do his best? As expected of my king, they must have dropped out from the Holy Grail War. Palami was I don't know what Pelmeni, I don't know what Pelmeni is, I don't know what that is. I was a powerful foe, but I think we managed it. See, it's like gyoza, right? It's not exactly the same, but the point is to serve the food wrapped. The difference is, Castor and Assassin are alright, they're good children, so they won't go against me. The roast chicken is probably alright, but I've made it before, so I know the tricks to it. There are none. By this point, Saber was finally beginning to understand. His words won't reach her? No, he is reaching her. Without a doubt, the girl was noticing his words. On top of that, she was replying, meaning there were no differences between the trends in the Holy Grail War and the topic of cooking. He hadn't detected any differences between the fact of killing people and the topic of cooking. I'm sorry. I apologize if I've rubbed you the wrong way. I know you're an egoist who is kind and wants to save humans no matter what, but... Her gaze was shaking. There was a hint of wetness in her eyes. The girl's expression had gloomily darkened. I know you'll hate me. I'll just say it. I'm sorry, Saber. I'll be more careful so that you won't grow to hate me. You won't grow to hate. Sincerely, honestly. With straight, clear eyes, the girl said, I'll make sure you won't say it. Manaka. It's fine. I'm fine. If it's for your sake, I'll do anything. I know you don't want to kill anyone, which is why... After cutting off her words for a moment, she kindly and gently smiles. She gazes at him more dearly than anyone else. The innocent and beautiful girl tells the Sky Silver Knight, I'll satisfy your ego. 7, what's that? Oh, your wish. Okay. Ruby text on that. With the radiance of a fairy. The gentle you. The cruel you. That you will never come to hate yourself. With the cheerfulness of a flower. Instead, I will kill everyone for you. And above all else, her clear and pretty eyes. Is that all right with you? Hey, Saber, I'll do my best and make sure to save your Britain. She will paint over all creation. An untainted, absolute white is certainly in there. Saber closes his lips after opening them once. Nothing. He couldn't say anything. All the words he had prepared to scold her were vanishing like mist. The King of Knights of a ruined country was compelled to accept all her words. Truly, it was exactly as this girl said. For the sake of his one heartfelt wish. After all, like all the heroic spirits who materialize in the Far East by the power of the Holy Grail, he had an absolute wish, because he had already decided to save his distant homeland, even if he had to dye his hands red that feigned ignorance nobility black in blood red. And because he was the Sky Silver Knight, because he hadn't yet met the Bud of Hope who informed him of his mistakes, he cannot resist the girl's shining feelings. Okay, so there's no picture or anything. Okay, well, on to the special act, Stray Sheep. Okay. My older brother has disappeared. Oh, it's about Tatsumi. Right, because he died. It's been a while since we've heard of him. Tatsumi Kitano hasn't been to school for 3 days. There's no notice of absence. And even if I try to ring him or go to his apartment and ring his doorbell, there is no response. Oh no, this isn't in the past. Oh no, this is in the present. Oh no, this is going to be real sad. There was also such a message from the homeroom teacher of the high school in Tokyo where my brother attends. Oh no, it's going to be the worst. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. For example, his homeroom teacher knew my brother wasn't the type to wander around Shibuya all night with some bad friends, and we knew it too. Still, we didn't think it was a big deal at first. Did he pick up how to play like that by chance, or did he make a friend like that? My father started one of those, when I was young I did that too stories, and though I was sure he was trying to reassure my mother. My dad had an overnight business trip overseas, and my mom's health had taken a turn for the worse, so I decided to go to Tokyo. So I took the key to my brother's apartment. Rather, I offered to do so myself. I had just finished my final regular exam for my middle school life, and had also finished the high school recommendation entrance exam. Tamaki. I'll go. Papa has important work, and Mama, you have to get some proper sleep. Ugh, but Tama, I said I'll be fine. One day isn't going to affect my record. That's not the point. Listen, Tama, a girl shouldn't be going by herself. I'll be a high school student soon. Although her mother had been opposed to it for a while, saying it's dangerous for a middle school student to go out by herself, she had been over to her brother's apartment many times during summer and winter vacation. Rather, she wondered if now was the time to go alone. Maybe Tatsumi couldn't respond to your calls from the outside because he was down with a fever, my mother worriedly said, but father didn't feel so worried. He said, "When I was young, I would go enjoy the nightlife too, or whatever." I wonder how I felt. If I opened the door, would my brother be lying down and able to move with a high fever? Or would he be a big brother who became a delinquent or like a different person than when I met him during winter vacation? No, both are wrong. But for some reason... What's the matter? What's the matter, Tamaki? Something wrong? Might have imagined my brother laughing at me, saying it like that. Tamaki Kitano, my name printed on my middle school student notebook. Right next to it is an ID photo of me in my school uniform. I look relatively cute. Some people say that I'm like my brother, but I think I'm more like my mother, if anything. My brother said, "Gee, your photo looks good," maybe at the end of March last year around spring break. He had a similar reaction when he showed me his newly made student handbook when he became a third year. My brother looked strangely happy. What kind of reaction should I have responded with? Something like lightly whacking my brother's shoulders, saying, "Don't stare at me like that, you creeper." Oh, there it is, Hikari number 4. JR Hiroshima Station. While lining up the green ticket counter, I take out my student handbook and I check the display on the electronic signboard. Bullet train will come in 20 minutes. If I get on that, I should arrive at Tokyo Station by the afternoon, meaning I can get to my brother's apartment by 3 o'clock. At times like this, I'm glad I live in Hiroshima City near JR Station. I usually don't find it so convenient, but I haven't found it inconvenient. Compared to Setagaya, Tokyo, where I spent a little over 12 years there since I was born, Hiroshima didn't feel uncomfortable enough to make a particular fuss about it, even if there are some differences between them. Rather, it may be more convenient than when I lived in Setagaya, as if I wasn't bad at getting to the Hachibori shopping district within a few minutes by taking the Hiroden tram. It's different from big cities like Ikebukuro and Shinjuku, but it suffices enough to go to a big bookshop, look at clothes, and play with my friends. Still, if I'm forced to mention something, with the fact that there are okonomiyaki chain stores here and there, like hamburger chain stores be enough? Unlike the ones in Tokyo, this okonomiyaki is grilled not by the shop assistant, but by yourself. As expected, I was a little surprised. After being surprised, I thought my brother would turn blue by it. However, my brother is not that dexterous. He is especially not good at flipping something over. Because of that, he often grumbles, and he can't make grilled fish, even though he lives by himself. In that respect, I'm good at both grilled fish and okonomiyaki. It is a regular event for me to serve grilled fish, which I do not usually eat to my brother every time a long vacation comes. I guess I'll go after doing some shopping. I buy a reserved seat ticket. While having the station attendant punch it, I board the bullet train that has entered the platform and head to the non-smoking 10th car. Find a seat and sit down. Should I make grilled fish after all? I muttered with a sigh. At any rate, he probably hasn't eaten any decent food. If I want to make him something, I have to buy the ingredients first. Most of the time, my brother's fridge is almost empty, and I can tell with a glance that he may not be able to cook for himself well. If I showed the state of it to my mother, she'd probably roll her eyes and grieve. In fact, that is one of the reasons I offer to go to Tokyo this time. There's nothing wrong with it, and some accidents and misunderstandings may overlap. I think that's probably what happened, but if my brother normally stays in his room, then yes, mother would arguably be very disappointed that my brother living alone is not the ideal life for him. I feel sick. I'm worried. I look out the window. The bullet train on weekdays wasn't so crowded, so I can easily get a window seat. The city of Hiroshima can be seen behind the thick glass. There was a sky leading to the sea. The sky was gray. It was a color I didn't like very much. I arrived at JR Tokyo Station at 1:12 p.m. It was a sky the same color as Hiroshima, terribly sunken gray. I transferred from the JR line to the private train line, heading to Setagaya where my brother lives. At first glance, nothing appears to have changed in the city where entire family lived until 2 years ago, probably because I come every season to play. The truth is, it has. Everything here and there is changing. The vending machines on the street corners that have been put there since I was little have been completely removed. A five-story condominium was built in the vacant lot where I often played with my brother. I can hardly tell the differences of the state of the area around Shinjuku Station where I got off to transfer the private line, but if it's in Setagaya, if I can carefully observe it, I can see that things have changed. A city I knew. Our city. Until a little while ago. Is it this faintly stagnant stench of photochemical smog in the middle of winter? Is it because of my imagination that I sense the presence of the stench, even if there is no alarm blaring, or I'm able to discern the scent because I've been able to smell it since I was a child? I don't really know. However, I'm a little relieved. A city I know. A city where my big brother is. One day my brother said, "You always have an unpleasant face. This is because of the ozone odor that accompanies the generation of smog, so maybe if we move you'll have less chance to smell it," or something like that. I placed my hand on my chest. I see. I was so worried that I became relieved. Once I become aware of it, I can clearly tell that the tension in my whole body is being released. It's okay. It's okay. The city where my brother lives, our city until a little while ago, is the same as usual. In that case, even my brother should be the same as usual today. The alleys that feel awfully narrower than in Hiroshima, and the husky dogs that bark loudly at me as I walk along the eaves are the same. Same as when I came during the winter break a little over a month ago. Shall I go after some shopping for ingredients? What are the seasonal fish for this season? No, let's go talk to my brother first. I want to see his face. When I got off the platform at Tokyo Station, I thought I shouldn't make Mum worry and changed course. I'm worried too. So first, I won't be satisfied until he says I'm sorry. Afterwards, I'll ask him if there's something he wants to eat or if he wants me to make him something. And then, I arrived at my brother's apartment before 3 o'clock is planned. First, I check the mailbox. Doesn't look like his letters have piled up. I climb the stairs to the second floor and ring the buzzer of my brother's room. I wait 2 seconds and try it again. No response. After using the buzzer a third time, I use my duplicate key and open the door. A small 1DK room. DK room. A one-room apartment with dining and kitchen area. Oh, I thought Donkey Kong was there. Okay. I feel most apartments have 1DK at most, Very rare to get 2 these days. From the entrance, I can see the kitchen and the bathroom first. Beyond them is a 6 tatami mat room. Tatsumi! There was no reply. He wasn't collapsed at the entrance, nor in the cramped bathroom, toilet, or even in the 6 tatami mat room. My brother isn't here. I opened the closet just in case, but no one was there. And I was living near this apartment with my entire family, or rather when I was young. My brother and I would often hide in the closet and play together. He's not here. Tatsumi. Even if I tilt my head, my brother is nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, as I look, there were 2 teacups on a small table. This is so sad. It's actually so sad. Is it just gonna end? It's thoughtless and reckless. What we're trying to do is outrageously ridiculous. My friend said that, and I don't doubt his words. That's too much. No matter how I think about it, I'm probably at a disadvantage, so I'll write it in here. Actually, I should have left this letter in the room, but I can't. I've heard how it works, but I'm not sure. Anyway, should I hide it? Since he said in our chat that they're thorough with such things. If you leave something in your room, it's likely to be the first to be disposed of, so I'll leave it in here. Father, Mother, Tamaki, please stay safe. Oh, an excerpt from this memo section of a student handbook. Oh my god. I never even considered that after a Holy Grail war, the church would go through people's rooms and, get rid of anything that related to the war. That's so sad. My thoughts were normal. My senses were calm. Accepting everything as it is, my heart is as clear as the silent surface of water. There is no fluctuation for even 1 minute. There is no hesitation, however. I will die at any time. I'll offer all of my soul to the Holy Grail. No, I don't want to die. No, I am the Hassan of the Serenity. I, Hassani Sabah, who is materialized in the present day as assassin. I'm always prepared to die. It's not like I've given up. It's the reverse. I have finally obtained it. I was able to fulfill my heartfelt wish without relying on the power of the Holy Grail. That is, I've obtained a master. In other words, I have obtained the ultimate light that will not perish even if I touch it. Is there anything else I want to wish for? Nothing. Nothing at all. I'm satisfied. More so than when I dashed through the night in my past life, than when I danced on that night. I'm so satisfied that I'm about to burst, more so than the moment when I placed myself in the hands of the awe-inspiring figure and died as one of the unmistakable Hassani Sabahs. I'm sure I'm already overflowing. I'd die for that person. If this filthy soul can truly activate the Holy Grail as one of the virtuous souls called by the mages, I will offer it, even now, and always. Oh, when will that time arrive? My exalted lady, my irreplaceable master, Miss Manaka Seijo. Already my master has pinned down the location of the Greater Grail. There's virtually only one master left. The end of the Holy Grail War is near. Interesting she says virtually. Perhaps my master isn't very concerned about the progress of the Holy Grail War where mages wage their lives to contend for it. As a matter of fact, my master is no longer aware of the activation of the Greater Grail. He won't be staying in the Seijo Mansion for much longer. Very soon, our base will be moved to the Greater Grail. You're just in the nick of time. It was about evening. Castor was the one who meagerly broke the silence of the hallway and called out to me. A heroic spirit who offers his allegiance to my master. Unlike Saber, who was bound to her as her official servant through the master degree, his way of being was perhaps closer to mine. A person who similarly killed his own master and chose to ally himself with my master, Manaka, the heroic spirit of betrayal. However, the fundamental difference between him and me is that he is not an anti-hero. True name, Paracelsus, an ancient magus from an era where magecraft and science were not as separated as they are today. A man who loved people and contributed to the development of healthcare. Not a person who proceeded down the bloody path, but one of the heroic spirits who was dazzlingly righteous and left his name in human history. I've been looking for you, assassin. Beyond his bewitching black hair, he smiles at me. It was a disgusting look. I know. This is nothing but the face of a beast or madman who licks his lips in front of his prey. It was one of the guest rooms I passed. Hiroki Seijo, the head of the Seijo family, and my master's father, allows us servants to move freely around his mansion. The only rule is that we avoid contact with Miss Ayaka Seijo, my master's younger sister, as much as possible. Even if we do meet her, we are not to tell her that we are servants and do our utmost to try to not get her involved in the Holy Grail War. It was something I was told after the sudden encounter between me and Miss Ayaka the other day. Therefore, I spent my time paying careful attention. I have more time to refrain from dematerializing. When I materialize like this, I am also mindful to take on the appearance of a maskless human girl. Castor, on the other hand, is different from me, and it can be said there are some activities that should be carried out from within our mansion from the start. In the decisive battle atop of Tokyo Bay, the elixir he completed refining helped Saber a lot. Even after the decisive battle, he still takes various magical steps to activate the Greater Grail. That's really interesting because, when you think about when you remember in FGO, he was also trying to activate a Grail. Yeah, that was kind of his whole deal in London. Although I'm not really sure this is necessary for my master. At least our master has permitted all his actions. For example, this guest room. He has borrowed multiple guest rooms from her dear father and is working hard at something here and there around the clock by using them as his personal workshop. Is it a new familiar? Yes. Castor nods. I'd already sensed what was hidden in the darkness of the unlit guest room. Something is there. It is an existence that is deeply connected to mana like us, but it is not a servant. I sense a highly unusual mana, but something is off. It is not a phantasmal species. Is it the faint scent of jasmine being used to cover up putrid dead odor drifting from its body? It was an unusual way of life. I know it. It is not the knowledge received from the Grail. I know this as Hassani Sabah. A filthy thing that should not exist. A repulsive, life-threatening thing. Is it a type of disgusting ghoul? Will a corpse be useful to our master in this situation? It's not for Lady Manaka. This is a gift for you, assassin. What? This is the most suitable thing for you on Earth. And then he told me, you are not suited to be Lady Manaka's servant. Thus, this gift is for a pitiful poison girl. Is that all you want to say? Is that it? As the last of his words melt in the shadows, I exhale quietly. Did he think he can just provoke me who is boasted as the fastest of the 7 heroic spirits in the span of our breaths intersecting? This man. It doesn't matter if it's a poisonous kiss or an unsheathed blade. If I pierce his spiritual core with my resentment, the path to my master's ambitions will be a little further away, even if it has a little effect on the masses. That said, I'll do it to the extent of shredding his good-looking face. You don't mind, Magus? I ask him with a glance. There was no reply. He simply replies with cold words. It's the perfect gift for you. It doesn't have to be Lady Manaka, right? Anyone who doesn't die from your touch will do for you. Am I wrong, Hassan of the Serenity? While being called out by my true name, sure enough I see it. The thing that appeared from the darkness. A walking corpse, a lifeless person. I gave it temporary life. Normally, certain kinds of living dead need a certain amount of time and chronology to gain an ethereal brain. But what if the level of the item construction skill I possess as a heroic spirit is irregular, then something like this? No. It can't be. It simply can't be. No, I killed... No, he's back! No, oh my god, this is the worst, actually! I killed him. I killed him. How? Rebirth from death. A pseudo-resurrection. By using my Philosopher's Stone, which I created with my own hands, it is possible to temporarily stave off death. Oh my god, he did what Rin did. He literally did what Rin did at the start of Stay Night. Oh my god. It's a pity that the brain is useless like this, but there is a way to bestow it with the memory of its life. Why? Because if it's for your sake, you should learn what your love really is. His voice. It's a lie. There's no way the shrill sound can come out from my throat. Even if his performance was a trap to sink his fangs into his prey, I've never made such a shrill voice. Oh, the one in front of me is... It was the one that I killed. That day, that night, that time. On the top floor of a mansion in Suganami Ward, Tokyo. I hugged him. I placed my lips on him. He who should have had his brain melted and been completely killed by me. Berserker's master. The owner of a shining red mystic eye of stillness. Oh, that's the official name. That young man. What was his name? Who are you? He moves his pale lips. A screechy-like voice is squeezed out of his dead and stiff throat. No! I don't want to kill you. His cloudy eyes were looking at me. There was something that couldn't live in the dead in them. A blood-sucking species? Really? I don't understand. I don't understand. No. My mind broke. If that's the case, no, but he's definitely here. He is here. It must be him after all. Look. I can hear him. I can understand him. He is telling me the continuation of his words from that night. I open my eyes and stand there frozen. As I expected. I thought you'd be pleased with it. This gift is most suitable for you. Why? Because no matter what poison he receives, he will not be killed. Your poison is certainly powerful and can kill even higher phantasmal species. That's not true for corpses. I can hear his icy voice from right behind me. Now, please caress him to your heart's content. After all, there's no one to stop you now. No one. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, letter addressed to Tatsumi Kitano. Dear Tatsumi, are you well? Mom is worried. It's fine if it's by phone, but please contact us. It doesn't even have to be a phone call. I'm also worried. What's happened to you? Oh my god. Hey, big brother. Right. It was when I called out to my brother. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was long, long ago. I believe it was out of the middle of walking home along the Marco River, which was unusual for me as I rarely go out and play. We walked side by side, holding hands, to a two-story single house that was very close to the apartment where my brother currently lives. Back then, I was smaller and shorter than a kid of the same age, and above all else, cowardly. I'd play by myself and rarely go to a friend's house. I was tagged along with my brother wherever he went. That's right. I was always searching for my brother's figure. When I couldn't see him, I'd cry in large drops, and my brother would come running to me immediately. On the way back, we'd always hold hands and walked. My brother didn't show any sign that he hated it, and when he held my hand, I pulled it back tightly. At the same time, I wasn't one to talk a lot, so on the way home, my brother usually talked about something and I just said yeah and nodded. Every day was like that. I remember it well. Of these, it's very clear that one I have the clearest memory of, I guess, was that day. That time. When Nori did that bad thing earlier. They were playing zombies. Oh no! On the way home after playing with my brother's classmate Norimitsu. At that time, when I was watching my favorite Friday anime, they ran a lot of commercials for movies with zombies with special makeup. I think such horror movies were popular, and perhaps I was completely freaked out by them. So it was the same on that day. It was a silly child's game of make-believe, but even so, I was scared from the bottom of my heart. The bad guy, Norimitsu, was a mysterious person who tried to carry out a terrifying plan to turn all the tap water across Tokyo into poison. My older brother was the hero of justice, a cyborg who fights bad guys or something. And I was almost always the hostage whenever he played like this. Hey, I'm a tiny bit scared. Words I whispered to my brother. It wasn't a tiny bit. I was really, really scared. After all, if the water flowing in our water supply was really poisonous, everyone would die. Mama, Papa, a dog Chibi, who we owned at the time, my kindergarten classmates, my teacher, everyone. The people I love would have died. I imagined that scene. I was trembling when we were walking home after playing, even though it wasn't cold. The words that Norimitsu said as he laughed, "I'll kill everyone. No one can save you," pierced me deeply at the time that I was helplessly scared. He wasn't the usual Norimitsu, who was good at dodgeball and stinks at video games. The guy who captured me and didn't let me go was definitely a bad guy at the moment. That's why. I was scared. Scared. But only a little, okay? As I said this, I squeezed my brother's hand. But because you were there, I wasn't scared. This is so much sadder now. Oh my god, guys, I'm actually gonna cry. Half lie, half truth. I was very scared. My brother was there. I knew that my brother would save me, so I just endured it until the game of make-believe was over. Because I knew that on the way home we would hold hands like this. Oh, that's so? So you weren't scared after all? I think my brother would probably noticed my lie, without saying anything more than that. He laughed. It's okay, I have nothing to worry about. Yes, he was telling me with his facial expression. In my brother's apartment, after placing the note on his study desk, she was pointlessly petrified for a few moments. Oh, it's like third-person perspective now. After thinking for a moment, Tamaki Kitano took action. Contact the police? No. Contact your parents' house? No. Certainly my brother was in his room at least within a few days. Tamaki thought the room was full of life, truly seemed to be waiting for its owner of the room to return, and that he definitely would be home soon. She decided to think. It might still be the best course of action. Still, Tamaki decided to do what she could. She briefly left the apartment and went to the nearby supermarket, which was open until 22 o'clock. I'm not checking the change. I'm not converting that. At night, purchased the ingredients, all while the barely returning a smile at the silly words from the middle-aged woman at the counter who said, "Oh, it's been a while, and how's your mother and father doing?" As anticipated, she started cooking instead of depending on the mostly empty refrigerator. Braised burdock root, kinpura. Okay, thank you for giving us that during this section. That it is a Japanese cooking style. We super need that. Well, I'm sure zombie him is going to come home and rip her apart. Okay, braised burdock root with boiled spinach and bonito-flavored soy sauce, deep brown miso soup with freshwater clams, cooked rice that seemed to have been sent from her parents' house, Stir-fried vegetables with lots of pork that's spicy, has a strong flavor, and there's a plentiful amount of it. After that, she grilled her brother's favorite fish, Japanese Spanish mackerel. Well, it's a very confusing combination. Literally, a spring fish. The air was still cold, but the spring was coming soon. There, it's ready. Tamaki thought this dinner was well made, if I say so myself. It's not as sophisticated as the meals she made when she regularly helped out her mother. I asked my cute little sister to make me this much, and yet I would have preferred curry. If he says something like that, I'll send him flying. By the time she had finished cooking, the sun had set, and it was night. By then, she finally noticed, so she used the phone in the room to call her home in Hiroshima. Yeah, I'm gonna try and wait a bit longer. On the other side of the line, her mother's worries were about to reach their peak. She was supposed to contact her at 3 o'clock, but she was sidetracked for a few hours, so it couldn't be helped. After she apologized, her mother somehow managed to calm down. It's alright. Sure, he was not in the room, but she didn't think he'd been away for a long time, so she was sure he'll be back soon. I'll stay here today for now and see what happens tomorrow, she told her. Please, don't cry, Mama. It's alright. She hangs up the phone. She exhales briefly. It's white. Now that she mentions it, she forgot to turn on the heating. With this, the dishes she had taken great pains to make and lined up on the table will be cooled down in a blink of an eye. The dishes. Because she had made it so properly, even in the cold, she wanted him to come back because she made it. Thus, while it was still steaming piping hot, they'll eat it together. She'll make him say it was delicious no matter what. After that, she'll grill him as to why he was away from home till he was absent from school. Could it be that he's hanging out with his girlfriend or something like that? After saying it out loud, she thinks it's unlikely. Guess not. No matter how many times she came over, her brother didn't change. Even though his back was rapidly stretching, his physique was getting quickly more impressive, and he was growing so tall that he was about to surpass his father's height someday. Brother had a look of no confidence on his face when it came to girls. You're good looking because you look like me. You can stand to be a little more confident. It was her soliloquy. Waiting for switched-on electric heater to warm up, she stands up and rubs her hands while exhaling her pure white breath. Was it better to keep her duffel coat on aside from a muffler until the air in the room heats up? As she tries to reach for the coat on the wall, she suddenly stops. Oh my god, this is scary. Next to her coat was the top and bottom of a black school uniform hung on the wall with a hanger. A black, faceless humanoid that matches her brother's physique. Where did you go, brother? With a light pow, she threw one light punch. But she only got an unreliable response from the empty school uniform. Aside from that, nothing. I can't scroll anymore. That's really sad. That's really sad. That was... Why did it have to end that way? Why did it have to end that way? Bro got done... Like, I think out of every master, this dude got handled... Like, not handled the worst. He had the absolute worst time, though. Like, he was such a chill, normal guy, and he suffered so badly because of it. This was a very, very, very good light novel. In my eyes, this one might be the best one we've read so far. Shoutouts to Phoenix Rising, shoutouts to Void. You guys did a really good job on this PDF. You guys did a really, I think there's still some quabbles I have with the translation every now and then, but this was so much better than the last one. And honestly, here's the thing, the actual story itself, enthralling. Manaka is the scariest character I think I've ever read about in anything. I don't still fully understand her, right? But the way Hikaru Sakurai writes, it's terrifying. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening to my reading of Fate Prototype. We'll be moving on to Volume 4 pretty soon, right? I'm trying to keep the pace up. I kind of want to return to Fate Strange Fate there pretty soon, but we'll be moving on with that next time. So thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you then for that. Ciao.